Hello, and welcome back to the Animal Room at the Science Center. My name is Colin. I'm the curator of live exhibits, and we're going to do another tour in the Animal Room here. Right now, you all are looking at our brook trout tank. These are the native trout that naturally occur in our streams around in the Ithaca area. They're a fun group of fish to watch, and they've been growing like weeds. We got them as little tiny fingerlings, and they're already well on the way to juvenile fish. They'll probably be adults in not too long. Pull the camera off here, we can get a couple close-ups. Oh, a little camera shy. They get nervous. These guys, like most animals, there's always something that wants to eat everybody out there, somebody out there. These guys are definitely predated on. Great blue herons are probably one of their main predators, but there's lots of other animals that would gobble them up as well. By the time a fish has gotten to this size, there's very few aquatic predators in the water that they live in that would eat them. But there's a number of things outside of the water that would grab them up and gobble them down if they had the chance. So they get a little nervous when I zoom in too close on them. This guy's giving me a good segue here. We'll look at this trout for a minute. Oh, there goes his big brother to chase him off. I'm just coming down here to try to show off a few of our black-nosed darters. Dace, excuse me, these are dace, not darters. We had some darters, but unfortunately they didn't dart quick enough, and they got gobbled up by the trout. So this is the other species we have in the tank now, the long-nosed dace. They're a neat little bottom-dwelling fish. They hang out on the bottom of the tank and just kind of scoot around, doing their thing, gobbling up any little bits of food they can find off the bottom of the stream, or in our case, the aquarium. These are really fun fish. I have to always give a big shout out and thanks to the North American Native Fish Association, who gave us a grant in order to put the chiller on this tank to make these fish possible. Trout can only thrive and survive in clean, cold water. And without the chiller, this tank ran a little too warm with the temperature we keep the Science Center. So we've got a giant chiller down in the basement that we pump water down to that makes the water nice and cold, so these trout can do well. So that's our trout tank. Today my plan for you all is to just take a quick trip through the animal room, looking at a few things on our way, but I'm mainly going to be heading back towards the prep room, because we had a request from a young guest of ours that we take a look at Norbert, our bearded dragon. Apparently one of our young guests the last time they were in had wanted to see Norbert, but his cage is in the back room, and he only gets brought out by staff or volunteers to meet our young guests. This guy missed him last time, so we'll go get Norbert out, take a quick look at him. We'll also say hi to some of our other education and outreach animals. These are the ones that you all are familiar with, the ones you get to meet when you come in. Gotta do some cord management here. I've left you all on the beaded lizard for a second while I get my cords in order. There we go, got my power plug back in. Hopefully I didn't lose my internet connection. I think I'm good there. Yeah, this is our beaded lizard. As far as I know, I think this is the only venomous reptile that is on exhibit in Tompkins County. This lizard is a type of Heloderma. There's only two venomous lizards in the world. There's the beaded lizard and there's the Gila monster. The Gila monster occurs in the US. The beaded lizard is only found down in Mexico. This guy is just a juvenile. Well, he can sense me moving around. He, she, we don't actually know what gender this animal is. It's still a juvenile, and there's no external way, and there's no way on the outside to be able to tell what gender it is. We'd have to be able to look inside, either with an ultrasound or possibly many animals can be probed. I don't know if beaded lizards can be or not. It was sent to me. You may have seen its tongue flick a second ago. They're a neat lizard. They actually have a forked tongue like a snake. So they can use that fork to tell if the thing they're tracing, they're following, trying to find, if it's gone off to towards the right side or the left side based on that forked tongue. They use it as a sensing organ. They flick it out, get some sense on it, bring it back in their mouth, and try to decide which way their prey went. That's our beaded lizard. It's a fun one. And while we've got him right behind us, let me grab this camera. We'll say a quick hi to our lionfish. Maybe I'll leave you all on our lionfish at the end of the tour today. They're a fun fish to watch. Oh, there we go. Hello, buddy. You waiting for some food? Well, I know you already ate today, so might have to wait a little longer. These guys are really fun fish because they're very aware of their surroundings. They definitely see us moving around the room and get excited when we come close to the tank, where they feel like they're puppy dogs. And they're always begging for food. Unfortunately, they like to check us out when we're doing water changes, and they've got these venomous spines up here. If they poke you, oh boy, it can hurt. So I hear. Luckily, I have not gotten to find that out. There's one of our lionfish. Now we'll swing back around over here. I'll wheelie on all over this way. We're going to stop, and of course, as you all probably know now, the green tree pythons are one of my favorite snakes in the animal room. They have such cool adaptations about them. So many neat ways they've evolved to survive and do well in their habitat. This is our female. Excuse me, you have to give me a second. Hard to manage the camera and blabber about these guys at the same time. This is our female green tree python. And I suspect, I haven't been in for a few days. I had a bit of surgery on my arm. I'm still recovering from that, so I missed my day this weekend. I'm having trouble getting that to focus on her. I suspect, the way she's looking, her eyes are not very opaque, but her skin is beginning to look a little opaque. I suspect that she might be going into her pre-lay shed, which is pretty exciting. If that is the case, that means we could have eggs within 2 weeks or so. Could be a little longer, could even be shorter. We'll have to see if she actually is in shed. When green tree pythons ovulate and become gravid, sort of like being pregnant for a snake, they often turn a blue color. They lose their yellow pigment a bit. It's called hormonal blue. And that's a sign that they're gravid, or could be gravid. But it can mean that it's a little bit harder to tell when they're in shed. Let's swing around and say hi to the male over here. You might be able to tell he's quite a bit greener. Oh, I'm having trouble getting focus in there. These are fun snakes. They're nocturnal, which means they're active at night. So during the day, they just curl up on a tree and try to look like a bundle of leaves, hoping that no bird of prey or any other predator is going to come along and eat them. That is often a common thread as I talk about things in this room, is animals being predated upon. Unfortunately, in the wild world, it is an animal-eat-animal world. There are many predators out there who make their living, who survive by eating other animals. And so many animals, most animals, have had to go to some sort of have evolved some sort of adaptation to prevent being eaten. I am trying to get you all set up. I've only got one good hand here, but I'd like to get Percy out for you all. Percy is one of our most popular education and outreach animals. She also has this great exhibit in the room. This is the original exhibit, animal exhibit from the at the Science Center. There once was a boa constrictor that lived in here named Spot. I never got to meet Spot, but I've seen lots of pictures of him. Heard some stories about Spot. He unfortunately, I think at some point bit somebody, and so stopped being exhibited here. And so after that we had Candy and Ruby, our two original corn snakes. One was an albino and one was totally hypomelanistic, had no pigment on it at all, no orange or black. It was both xanthic and albino. And those two snakes lived to be in their 20s. And they both passed away in my time here. And we had Percy here, who hatched out at the Science Center. You see, she's quite curious. I'm going to try to keep her out of my sling there. She's always very curious, loves to check out what's going on. And of course wants to find out what that fun little cave is going on like there. There you go. Percy is such a wonderful, friendly snake. I was told when I first started that she was the nicest snake in the world. And I don't know how many times I've been told that a snake is the nicest snake in the world. And of course I didn't believe it. But as I've gotten to know Percy, I am convinced she is the nicest snake in the world. She has probably met hundreds of thousands of kids at this point. She comes out almost every single day that we're open to meet our guests and be an animal ambassador. Many people, myself included, are scared of snakes. It's a family trait for me. Many of my relatives and ancestors have been afraid of snakes, and I too was afraid of them when I was young. But I knew it was irrational, because most of the snakes I would find myself afraid of were completely harmless, like Percy here. And so it's great to come across an animal that's as friendly and calm and nice as Percy is. Can help people realize that snakes aren't scary or dangerous at all. Well, most snakes. And that there's really nothing to fear about them. In fact, having snakes around is a great way to not have mice around. So this is Percy. She's a corn snake, if I didn't mention that. Corn snakes come from the southern U.S., southeastern U.S. primarily. They have quite a large range from Florida all the way up to Pennsylvania. They don't occur in New York as far as I know. Oh, gotta be careful, she was touching my touchpad there. Huh? In fact, sorry, I hope I didn't lose too many of you there. Percy stopped our stream. She reached down and touched our touchpad and stopped the stream running. Hopefully that came back up. I'll have to look at my phone in a second, see if we're still streaming now. Sorry about that interruption. Percy, behave yourself. You're getting into trouble. Never knew that snakes could work touchpads. Nope. So that's Percy. She is a wonderful snake. I'll put her back in here. Percy, when she was a young snake, was believed to be a boy snake, and so she was given the name Percy. I could show you this actually. She was named after the famous fisher Perseus, because on the top of her head here, Let's see if I can give you a view of it. Oh, she's open for a mouse. Percy, put your face down. Put your face down. On the top of her head, right there, she kind of has what looks like a little bit of a fishing hook mark on her head. So she was named after the great fisher Perseus, believed to be a boy, but then, oh, sorry, having a little trouble with my camera. But then a number of years later, when she became an adult snake, she'd never been with a male snake, so the eggs she ended up laying weren't fertile, but she laid a batch of eggs. When a snake has unfertile eggs, we call them slugs, because rather than being big, shiny, plump, pearly white eggs, they're slimy and they're yellowish and they're pretty gross, small usually, and so they're called slugs. She laid a batch of slugs, and she's done it now a number of times. She did it once just before I started here, and I think she's done it at least, I know she's done it at least once, I think maybe twice in my time here. We've got this window right over here in our animal room that many of you all perhaps have looked out. And having that natural light coming in here, no matter what I do with my light cycles on these tanks, many of the animals with that natural light shining can tell what the season is. And it doesn't matter if I have their lights on for short days or long days, that they see that natural light and they say, I know spring is coming on. So I'm gonna do my reproductive thing and make a bunch of eggs, even if they aren't fertilized. So that's what Percy has done a few times. She's a really great snake. Now let me bring you all, uh-oh, I came the wrong way. Cord management. Got my cords tied up here. I'm gonna have to swing you all back around the other way here. There's our reef tank. There's our lionfish again. And while we're here, we'll take a quick look at the cichlids. Oh, everybody hid when I walked up. There's one of our venustus, the giraffe haps. They've got a fun pattern on their side. Oh, there's another venustus. They're the bold ones today, hoping for some extra food. Okay, let's bring you all around this way. There's our native room. We'll skip that today. There's our Angolan python. There's our carpet chameleon hanging out at the top. He's still mad at me for thinning out his cage. He liked it when it was a thick jungle in there, and he's angry now that I thinned the plants out a bit. Okay, let's keep moving. Swing by our rhino rats. You can see one taking a bath in the water bowl there. Pop by here. This cage, the glass is horrible. I didn't clean it today. But we've got a dart frog hanging out right there. There's one of our Aratus, the green and black dart frogs. They're found in Central America. What we were doing here is we're heading over this way to see some of the animals we keep in the back room. Oh, got one more fun thing here to show off. Cord management again. Before our shutdown happened, I decided to try to green up our museum a little bit. We grow such nice plants in these exhibits, and I thought it'd be nice to have more greenery around the museum. So I've started putting a few plants around the museum. There's one of our White's tree frogs hiding back there. Oh, a quick correction. On one of my last tours, I was talking about these White's tree frogs, and I was talking about how I don't know what makes them turn red or green. But one of our watchers, one of our guests who tuned in for the virtual tour, took it upon themselves to look it up and discovered they found a reference for me that said that they turn red when there's lots of light, that they develop extra pigmentation, that extra coloring, to help protect from the sun's rays. So when it's really bright, they turn red, and when when it's not as bright, they'll turn green, which makes sense because these guys do turn green at night. And you can see I've got some really bright lights in here to help keep these plants growing. So that's just a side effect of having nice plants in our exhibits, is having reddish brown white tree frogs rather than green tree frogs. But what I was saying a second ago is I've been trying to put some plants around the museum, and I found a couple orchids that hadn't been in flower, and we've been giving them lots of TLC, and I was so excited today to come in after a couple days off and to get to see that one of them has started blooming. So this is a Phalaenopsis orchid. These are one of the more common orchids that you'll come across as houseplants. They're fairly hardy. Have to be careful not to water them too much. They do much better staying drier rather than wet. Even though they come from the rainforest, they're epiphytes. They grow up in treetops, and if their roots stay too wet, they'll start to rot away. We've been giving this one some extra TLC, and it's repaid us with these beautiful blossoms. We've got 2 blooming, and there's 2 more buds coming along. The nice thing about Phalaenopsis is if they're well cared for, their blossoms will last a long time. So we'll all get to enjoy a little bit of this springtime beauty when we come into work. Okay, enough of me rambling about plants. Let me go grab some outreach animals. I'll back you all up a little bit here. We'll stay on the orchid there. You can see they're just tiny little orchids. This is a little dwarf variety. Joaquin, this guy's for you. Here's Norbert. I'm gonna have to turn on our overhead lights, get a little better light on the sky. There we go. Yeah, that's better. This is our bearded dragon. He's been named Norbert by some of our future science leaders. If you all recall, Norbert is the name of the dragon from Harry Potter. This guy won't breathe fire, but he is awfully adorable. This guy came to us from the Tompkins County SPCA. He was rescued from a bad situation when he was an emaciated little juvenile lizard, and he's grown up quite well. He'll probably get a little bit larger, but he's pretty much fully grown now. Bearded dragons come from Australia. They're a desert lizard. They're fun little critters. They almost always have really gentle temperaments like Norbert does. Super friendly, they make really great pets. These guys are omnivores. That means they like to eat just about everything. They've got this fun trait. They'll often hang out on shirts. You can just hang them on your shirt and go about your business and have your pet lizard hanging out with you. But they're omnivores. They eat both vegetable matter and animal matter. Here at the Science Center, Norbert gets lots of carrots and lettuce, collard greens, and lots of crickets and mealworms too. And that generally comprises his diet. As the warm season comes along, we'll go out and pick dandelion greens for him as well. He's pretty happy with all that stuff. But they're a fun lizard. They become very habituated to being handled. It's hard to know whether they actually enjoy it or not, but it sure seems like he does. He'll contentedly ride around with us pretty much all day. Loves to meet guests. Seems like he does. Fun thing about lizards, most lizards, not all lizards, I don't think chameleons do this, But bearded dragons and many other lizards can actually lose their tail. Ooh, that tickles, buddy. When they get scared if a predator comes to eat them, there we are, back to talking about things getting eaten. If a predator comes and tries to, come on, focus, focus. There we go. There's a good headshot of Norbert. If a predator comes and tries to eat a bearded dragon and maybe grabs at its tail, they can drop their tail. Their tail will just separate at some point and just fall right off. And the end of the tail that's come off will start wiggling around like crazy. And the hope is that will distract the predator. The predator will see that wiggling tail and go after it and try to gobble it up, and it'll give the lizard a chance to scamper off and not get eaten. And then they're able to regrow their tail with time. It always grows back a little different. You can always tell an animal that has a regenerated tail. But if it can keep an animal alive, so be it. Better to have a funny looking ugly tail than it is to be inside of the belly of a bird. These guys are called bearded dragons. Many people think it's because of these spikes they have around their throat. But actually his throat down here, he won't do it now because he's too happy and calm. But when a male bearded dragon like this one sees another male and feels like it needs to compete for territory, they'll do a push-up with their arms, hold themselves up really high, and they'll flare their throat out down here. They'll stretch it out, and the skin in there, down underneath their scales, is actually dark and black. Whoa, buddy! Woo! Take a little flipperoo there. So they have a dark, dark throat that they can flare out. And when they flare out their throat like that, it looks a whole lot like they've got a big, dark beard. So that's where the name bearded dragon comes from. There we go. Get him in focus again. Ah. There we go. So Joaquin, thanks for inquiring about Norbert. Happy to get him out and show him off to you. Can't wait so we can open back up and you can come say hi to him in person. I'm going to get out one more of our outreach animals. Give me 1 second. I was going to get out one of our fat-tailed geckos, because with only one hand, a fat-tailed gecko seemed like an easy thing to handle, but my stool's not back there. I left it out on the floor here. So instead, I've gone out on a limb, and I've gotten out one of our crested geckos. I'm a little nervous here, because with only one hand, crested geckos can be hard to handle with 2 hands. So we'll see how I do here. Crested geckos are really fun geckos. One of our keepers and educators, Emily, did a fun Zoom activity about geckos. That could be a fun thing to check out if you missed it. The crested geckos come from Southeast Asia, from an island called New Caledonia. They were only discovered by science I believe it was in the earlier mid-90s. So these guys haven't been known of for a very long time. They're fun lizards. They're arboreal lizards. They run around up in treetops, and they've got sticky toe pads, which unfortunately I probably won't be able to show those off very well on this video with only one hand, but their toe pads are very sticky. It feels almost like Velcro, and they can stick to just about anything. You can see him flicking his tongue there. Crested geckos don't have eyelids, so if his eye is feeling dirty or something like that, the only way he can clean it is to stick out his tongue and lick it right off, which you can see him do a couple times. Crested geckos, like bearded dragons, are also omnivorous. I'm going to show you a neat trait here. I'm going to try to. I'm not sure he's going to cooperate. There we go. These guys can walk right up glass. Those sticky toe pads mean they can stick right to the glass, and they can walk right up it. So there's our crested gecko. This is our male. We've got a little group of them. We've got 2 females and 1 male. So here he is walking right up the glass. They actually have a little sticky pad right on the tip of their tail too. And I'm not going to be able to get that in focus once the camera wants to look at those plants. But on the tip of their tail is also a sticky pad, so when they leap from one plant to another, that tail can help them catch on as well. So I think I was saying these guys are, like the bearded dragons, are also omnivorous. But these guys, they don't eat vegetable matter as they eat fruit. They're frutivores. Young crested geckos. Oh, focus for me, focus. There we go. There's a nice headshot of this handsome guy. A young gecko will primarily eat animal proteins because they're growing so much. They need that extra protein to help them grow. But as they mature and become adults, they become to prefer fruit. And so we actually buy a prepared fruit smoothie mix. It's a powdered mix that we mix with water, and it makes a delicious smelling smoothie that we give these guys a couple times a week, and they just come and lap it up and absolutely love it. There's his sticky toes. You can see they do actually have little toenails on the ends of their toes, little claws. And those may help them grip onto things, but primarily they're using those sticky pads to hang on to things. And these guys get their name crested gecko from that ridge of spikes around their head. It's their crest. Got pretty little, looks like eyelashes too. It's funny though, these spikes, I'll see if I can get my other hand. I can't do it. They're spikes. They look menacing and awful, but they're actually flimsy and soft. They bend right over if you touch them. They look impressive and might help prevent an animal from wanting to eat them, but it's hard to believe they would actually stop anything from eating them. These guys rely on their speed primarily to stay away from predators. But it's fun getting some good close-up looks of his scales. Reptiles have these scales to help prevent water loss. Having your body covered with scales keeps your water from evaporating from your body, so you have much lower water needs. That was the evolutionary trait that reptiles evolved from, one of the main ones, from amphibians. Amphibians are so tied to water, have trouble getting away from it. There's his hemipenal bulge there. That's how you know he's a male. But being able to get away from water allows reptiles to colonize lots of habitats that amphibians can't make use of. So there's our crested gecko. Oh. And I think that's going to be it for our tour today. Grab this guy back up. Go. And there's our crested gecko. Again, these are animals we often get out for our guests to meet when we're open. Can't wait to have you all back to come and meet these guys again. Say hi to them. There he goes, licking his face clean again. Well, thanks for tuning in. It's always fun to get to show you all around the animal room. There he goes, licking his eyeball. This is one of my favorite places. I love being in this animal room and being around all these animals. We've got such a great collection. And it's really great. The Science Center is so committed to keeping our animals here. Such a great way for young people and really everybody to learn about the incredible diversity that exists in our world, some of the really neat habitats that occur, and why we need to do a good job taking care of our planet. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go put this guy away, and then I'll take you all over to the lionfish. You all can check them out for a while if you'd like. And tune back in on Thursday. We'll do another tour at 2 o'clock. We'll look around and learn some more fun things about our animals. Take care.